Welcome back to the Prayin and Slayin Podcast, the official podcast of Like the Fire Outdoors. And today we are launching the very first installment of our conservation series. This series will be dedicated to the grassroots level conservation efforts, whether it be national organizations or local organizations, to get you guys the inside look on what happens at the conservation world and how the operations tick. And we couldn't be more excited to bring you guys Taylor Philpot and Revive Outdoors today for the very first episode to help us kick this thing off. It's a local organization to the state of Alabama. They're starting to branch out into some other states, and I'll let Taylor tell you guys all about that. This podcast is brought to you by Dead Nuts Outdoors. They are the first official partner of the Prayin and Slayin Podcast. So with that, guys, let's jump into the episode with Taylor Philpot and Revive Outdoors. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Prayin and Slayin Podcast. Today, we've got our very first installment, actually, of our conservation series, where we're diving into the grassroots nuts and bolts of what makes conservation organizations tick. You know, everything from the national level conservation organizations we all know and love, down to some grassroots level stuff that's more organic in its local community, which is actually where I met Taylor from Revive Outdoors, and I'm really excited to let you guys hear in on what Revive Outdoors is. From what I understand, they've got a ministry and conservation program all in one, and I'm excited to let Taylor let you guys know everything about Revive Outdoors. So with that, let's introduce Taylor Philpot, the founder of Revive Outdoors. What's going on, man?
Hey, Aaron. Thank you so much for having me on, and for everybody listening. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen to this.
Yeah, it looks like you're actually out in the woods today.
Yeah, I have a couple of, so like the tail end of our season, all of our volunteer staff that work with us, what I try to do is help them, towards the later end of the season, once all of our mentored hunts are mostly out of the way. I try to get them on some good bucks. And so there's a property that we were donated for use that somebody privately owns, and we've never went in there because it's just a big giant thicket, and late season's perfect for killing bucks in a big giant thicket. So I went in there into the center of it this morning, and for the last few hours I cleared a 100-yard lane, and with my little flip and zip saw. But we can kind of ease in on the back door with the right wind, get set up right there on the ground, and have a 100-yard shot to where we had an old mineral site set up last year that I just used for inventory. So hopefully the ground was still tore up. So hopefully they'll keep coming in, and we'll be able to get one. Have a couple of guys that have never got bucks, a couple of guys that have never got really like a shoulder mount, type buck. And so hopefully I can help them. And if nobody's available, I'll go try to get my first buck with a shotgun. I've never done that before because we just don't hunt like that down here.
No kidding. Awesome, man. Yeah, my very first buck ever was actually with a shotgun. So that's shotgun hunting is near and dear to my heart. But Iowa, that was like the only thing you can do. Now they got straight wall seasons and a couple other things up there. But I still love getting that old iron sight shotgun out at least once a year to the range and making sure I can still hit a bullseye at 100 yards. So it's more of a bragging rights thing than anything else.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Heck yeah, man. So you're actually getting your fingernails dirty with Revive Outdoors today. I guess tell us a little bit about Revive Outdoors, how it got started, where it came from, and kind of what you guys are doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Revive Outdoors, in early 2020, my wife was pregnant with what would have been our fourth child, and she ended up being stillborn in 2020. And we had perfectly healthy 3 kids, great pregnancies up to that. And so it obviously losing a child is not easy at any point in time for anyone, but for us to never experience anything like that and not really be on our radar at all, it caught us off guard. And, I went through a really deep, grief journey. Alcohol started to come in there where I would have to drink every night just to go to sleep. And through that, just pain and grief and heartache, I started going and spending a lot of time in the woods, sunrises, sunsets, screaming, crying, angry at God, all the emotions of just walking through that grief journey. And, that paired with sometimes I would be in the woods hunting. Sometimes it was things for hunting. Sometimes just going to sit there. But for me, I just found it a place of refuge for me to be able to go and truly revive my life. I mean, I was dead inside, and God was able to breathe life back into me and revive it through the outdoors. And I just thought, man, this is something that I'm going to share with people for the rest of my life. And so late 2020, I started Revive Outdoors and just started taking people hunting that had never been before, or maybe had been, but not really ever had any success. And didn't really know where it was going to take us, but I knew that it was going to be somewhere good because God was involved, and I was excited to see where it took us. So today, our mission statement is to make both a positive and an eternal difference through conservation. And the way that we do that primarily is we teach adults how to hunt. So most of these people have never even fired a weapon. You know, they want to hunt, and then they want to understand what it means to go through like a real natural organic harvest process and actually, be the hunter gatherer, kind of origin that we have. And they come in, and we partner with the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources here in Alabama. And we host a hunting 101 workshop with the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, where someone's going to be able to take what they've learned in a hunter education course and see it in a more hands-on environment. And so they're going to learn about the basics of deer biology, how to read maps, how to understand topography maps, how to call deer, how to find sign for deer, just overall species specific information they're going to find in that workshop. We also host a turkey workshop. And then what happens from that workshop that qualifies them for a one-on-one mentored hunt with our team or with the Department of Conservation's team. And so with our team, we are going to have one-on-one mentored opportunities on private land that we work with private landowners to arrange ahead of time to where we can hunt and bring these people in. And when they're on that hunt with us, they're going to take everything they've learned in hunter education, the hunting workshop, and then now get to apply it real world. And we're going to teach them along that hunt, hey, this is why we're hunting here today. The wind is blowing this direction. It's away from where we think the deer are going to be. We think the deer are going to come from this direction or that direction. And this is how we hope to be successful. And then if they are successful, which we always hope that they are, they get to experience that post-harvest process. Once they've killed that animal, they get to go through, learn how to gut it, cape it, process it. If they want to take it to a processor, they can do that as well. But we just really take them through that whole experience. But what is unique about us is us being a nonprofit. So we're a 501c3, we're a Christian-based nonprofit, is while they're on that hunt with us, we just kind of identify where they're at in their walk in life and in their walk with the Lord. And so our goal is to get them to just take one next step, whether that be a spiritual or a mental next step. And so through that, we have shared the gospel with people who don't believe. And we have seen 39 salvations since late 2020 when we started Revive Outdoors.
Wow.
And we have referred 110 people to mental health counseling. And so us being in the Bible Belt, so total and mentored, we've mentored 366 brand new hunters that most of them have never even stepped foot in the woods since 2020. And so out of that 366, we've had 39 salvations and 110 mental health referrals. Well, down here in the South, a lot of people are already engaged in their church. They're already saved. We're called the Bible Belt for a reason, but they've never, they have the spiritual component in their life, but they've never really thought about the mental component. Nobody's ever had that conversation. And so we have a really healthy conversation around that. That's how I got a lot of my healing, is going to mental health counseling. I know those that are veterans, you've probably had that put in front of you at some point in time. And there's a stigma with it, and a shrink. It's weird. You're going to go lay on a couch like in Space Jam and talk about aliens. It's like, like everybody has this preconceived notion of what it is, and so it's just been really cool to connect people with the Lord. And then also to connect them to mental health services. And next steps can be for people, obviously, if they get saved, we want to connect them with the body of Christ in some way, whether that be a local church close to them or a small group close to them, or sometimes they join our team and they become a part of our volunteer staff. And then on the mental health side, we help connect them with counseling, and then we stay involved to make sure that they're taking healthy next steps. But that's the majority of what we do at Revive Outdoors. And we have 25, 30 guys that are on the team that it has just been a crazy growth. I'm now doing it full time, and it has just been a tremendous blessing. Like day in, day out, I wake up and I know that what I'm doing through what I love in conservation, through hunting, like I absolutely love to do that. I get to also make this positive and eternal impact. And it's just really special to bring those two together and be able to make a difference. And that's why I think that, the guys on our team just love it so much. Once they take that first person on the mentored hunt, I only require them to do one mentored hunt a season. And they end up doing 3 or 4 because they get, addicted to seeing the adult light up and just have so much excitement and enjoyment and harvesting their first deer. It's just really special.
Amazing. So the team members you guys have, obviously you founded it. Is there anybody else that does it full time, or is everybody else like on the volunteer scale mostly during hunting season? How does that look?
Yep. So actually, all of us, including myself, are on the volunteer scale right now. We're hoping to fundraise where now that I've moved into this director position, that I'll be able to take a little bit of income. But the ministry, we're going to raise funds for it first. And then hopefully I can kind of step away from the other kind of side hustles, so to speak, that I'm doing, and be able to take a little bit of income off Revive Outdoors. But right now I've just put money into it. So I flip houses for real estate. Like I do real estate, flip houses. And then me and my wife, we own a children's toy store, but we just opened that in August of last year. And so it's brand new. We got our small business loans we're trying to pump out. So, needless to say, it's not quite profitable yet. And so, maybe one day it will. But yeah, we're just looking to fundraise to hopefully put me as the first official paid staff member, and then also raise enough money for a part-time, staff member. And so when I travel, which I know we'll get into this, but I travel to a lot of shows and put out content. And when I'm doing that, I always have somebody with me as accountability partner that goes with me, stays in the hotel with me, flies with me. And so I want to be able to compensate them for their time as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, for the most part, or right now, we are all volunteers.
it's
And
awesome.
it's really cool to see that guys would take time away from their families, away from their personal hunting goals, and come and teach somebody and make an impact in their life at the same time.
For sure. Yeah, I know I've ran into you a couple of times, both professionally, I guess, and personally at a couple of different trade shows. And you guys have a YouTube channel as well, Revive Outdoors. And if you've ever been there, you've seen Taylor at the trade shows. If you haven't, go check it out because he talks about all the coolest, latest gear that he runs into. But those guys are your partners as well, right? The companies that you work with there. How does that
Yep,
fit in?
yeah, that's exactly right. And so what we've done is something that's really unique to the industry. So if you look traditionally at YouTube content creators or influencers, especially in the hunting space, or you look at the TV personalities, historically they've not been able to have competing products as their sponsors. So they couldn't both have two scent product companies or two camo companies or two, now saddle hunting companies. With Revive Outdoors, it's a little bit unique because we're just doing something that's different. And so what we do is, yes, we go to the trade shows, we have companies send us gear, but anything that you see come through our YouTube channel, what that company has agreed to do is give you a discount as the person who's purchasing the product. And we usually use all caps Revive as the code, or we use an affiliate link for tracking. And so when you use those codes or those affiliate links, it gives you a discount, but it also, the company will donate back to us a portion of what you purchase. And so that's one way that we've been able to raise money in the past, and we brought even more partners on this year. And so we have 3 saddle companies right now. So we have Buzzard Roost Saddles, we have Arsenal, but a lot of people know them as Hunt Arsenal because if you search Arsenal, you'll get a soccer stuff, and then Latitude Outdoors. And so people are like, well, how in the world are you going to do video content with 3 different, saddles that are, they're all competing against each other? And at the end of the day, just like everybody's unique and the car that they drive, everybody's not a Ford or Chevy person. There's the other brands that are out there. It's the same thing with saddles. Is you're going to have people that they love what this company makes, but they like this one a little bit more because of the features that they're personally desiring. And so I'll just go through and I'll create content on all of it and say, hey, this is how I would use it. This is how I do use it, because I'll use all of it. It's a different time, place. I mean, you can't see back behind my seat here, but it's literally stacked almost to my headrest full of gear for me and whoever's hunting with me. So I just am able to bring those partners together and ultimately just show the maturity of that company, that they're willing to say, hey, we're running our race. We know there's competition out there, but really the only competition we have is ourselves and taking care of our customers and making great products. And it shows the maturity of them to say, hey, we're willing to let you make content on all of it. And we're still going to give to the, work together with you to make an impact through Revive Outdoors. And, for me, the statistic that always it keeps me going every day, like when I don't want to get out of bed, because when you're your own boss, you don't have to get out of bed. And there's a statistic that I read in a recent study that they did that since the 80s, so the last 4 decades, hunting participation, so the amount of hunters in the woods, has declined 87% over the last 4 decades. And to put that in perspective, around 87% to 90. So 9 out of 10 people that you know right now, so 10 people that you know as your hunting buddies that hunt, 9 of them would no longer be there and you'd be standing there solo. That's the equivalent of what has happened the last 4 generations. And so we're looking to reverse that statistic and change it. And that's why we focus on brand new adult hunters. I think it's great that there's organizations out there that focus on children. But for me, the reason that I want us to be focused on an adult is it's kind of like the Bible talks about, if you teach a man how to fish, they can go fish. But if you fish for them, it's not really going to help the overall impact down the road. And so what we want to do is we want to teach adults today, so tomorrow they can go hunt on their own, but they can also teach other adults and children around them in their circle of influence tomorrow as well. And so, yeah, that's how we partner with these hunting companies. And we do these gear demos, and we, highlight their new products that they're coming out with. Just because, it's something that people want to see, but it at the same time allows everybody to win in that situation.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I think you hit a lot there, but coming from, you and I both work in the outdoors industry for companies, and, seen it every way from Sunday, the competition side, and really no matter how you look at it, or the type of company you work for, how much they're trying to either eliminate competition or just stay in their lane, they're all there for a reason. There's companies that have been around for 4 decades. There's companies that are just starting up tomorrow or yesterday, that are trying to carve their space. But at the end of the day, there's definitely room there for everybody, but I think it's the innovation that drives it too. So you talk in the saddle hunting game specifically, you mentioned your partners there. I just got into that this year, but the one thing that kept me out of it it's only been, I don't know how, you could probably tell me better how long the saddle hunting's been, I guess, mainstream around over the last couple of years. It's been getting more and more fire behind it, but the thing that kept me out of it was just the lack of knowledge of where to even begin to start. So if you had, and the other thing I've learned, especially, we're an Air Force family, and so we kind of bounce around. But when I got a chance to go Western hunting, was really the first time I got a chance to realize how crappy the gear I had from Midwest hunting my whole life was not suited at all for that style of hunting. But then it also shows you you can't really dive into one brand or another and just stick with it, because you're going to find that one little thing that just doesn't quite work for you with this gear or that gear. This piece might work really well and you love it, but the pants aren't great fit for you or whatever the case is, or these boots might, all the stuff, right? So you end up with, one clothing system that's 4 brands deep, but it's because each one you finally figure out fits you a little bit better. Now, coming back here to the East Coast and getting in that saddle hunting game, having somebody like that that's a more of a hunting style expert versus a brand expert is super nice. And then you get a chance to not make the expensive mistakes of buying all the gear all at once, and get a chance for Taylor to tell you, hey, this thing works really great for this, or here's this use application for that. Here's what I like, about this particular thing. That can save a guy a lot of time and headache and give a person the confidence just to get into the game in the first place. And I'm glad I got into saddle hunting. But getting through that barrier because of the competition thing and everybody's telling you this is the right one, that's the right one. You kind of have to break that to really let people just understand like, hey, it's not as scary as it sounds. It's actually really simple. And then having a little bit more knowledge to get in there, not being so brand affiliate heavy, I guess, because that's another thing you got to watch out for in the industry. So it's nice that you're merging that section.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And it's man, it's just a really cool opportunity to do so, to, work behind the scenes with so many different companies. Of course, I don't share anything between the companies, from a competitive advantage standpoint, but it's really cool to work on products and give them feedback. And, people will comment in our comment sections all the time on YouTube, and I'll just screenshot it and send it right to the company. And the next thing you know, it's in that product. So it's really cool to see the impact that we're making together, because everybody's just willing to put their priorities first, which is eternity and making an impact in people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Then on the, getting adults, I love that you guys are doing that. I love your philosophy on that too, because there's so many organizations out there, aimed at kids or this niche group or that niche group. And I think it's all fantastic. Getting anybody outside is a good thing. I've got a 3-year-old now, and having him come pat me on the back and give me a high five when we go squirrel hunting, I shoot a squirrel is like about the coolest thing I've ever experienced. It's like, yeah, Dad, good job. You're like, all right,
Yeah.
but so he's into it. But like you said, I can't. I don't know him when he's 16, 17, 18, when he gets up there. Maybe it's something the last thing he's interested in is hunting. You never know, right? Like things change or whatever. But on the adult side, I got to see that firsthand kind of by accident with when we were in Montana. My neighbor was a big fly fisherman, so he told me he'd teach me how to fly fish if I taught him how to hunt. Took him on his first hunt. He basically just watched me the first couple of times. He just went out and was getting a feel for it before he invested in the gear. But then he got himself a rifle, and we went out and he got his first deer. And next thing you know, he took his wife hunting. He took the other 3 neighbors hunting who'd never been before. Like he turned into his own hunting advocate. Just it broke the ice to have that experience, and he was on fire for it. So it's awesome that that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. Yep. And, that's the thing is, we haven't talked yet about our staff. And so for me, what I primarily do on a day in and day out basis is make sure our staff is set up for success, but also pastor them. And so our staff, they come in, and the requirements I have of them, as I mentioned before, is that they do one mentored hunt a season. And then I ask them to attend 10 out of 12 monthly meetings in a year. And in those meetings, I try to have some type of expert come in. Like, so most recently, we're based out of Alabama. Some guys that are really good at hunting the rut in Alabama. We had them come in and speak to our team. And then a guy that's coming this month here on Tuesday, he's going to speak about late season strategies, because we're going to be in our last like 5-6 days of season when he comes to visit with us, and talk a little bit about postseason scouting as well. And then when turkey season rolls around, we'll start having guys come in for turkey season. So we're really excited about that, and pouring into the guys that way. But it's been really cool to see guys do these mentored hunts, and it not only changed the lives of those that they're taking, but it also, the gift of giving is what they say is very special. And, they're giving of their time and their energy and their efforts and their wisdom and knowledge, and to see it change their lives is really cool. And then we have guys that, just like the mentees that come through, our mentors, they're in different seasons of life. And so we had a staff member recently just get saved. Like when we go through a code of conduct, and he had a conversation with us like, hey, I don't really know what I think right now. I said, well, you can still be a part of the team. When it comes to mentored hunts, we'll have somebody with you. You don't have to go solo. And, but we, at the end of the day, have been praying for him and encouraging him. And then we had our staff retreat back in December, where we all went out, camped, and, had some really strong like prayer and ministry time. And, we did some deer hunting as well. but he ended up getting saved at our staff retreat. And then we've had guys that they take the step towards mental health counseling, or they take the step in taking their family to church. They get into the staff, and it's a bunch of guys who love to hunt but also love the Lord, and they see that we're all just normal people. Like, we're sinners too. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to get upset at our wife and kids. We're going to do something stupid that we shouldn't do. But we live through God's grace, and make sure that we're putting boundaries in place to protect ourselves and live the life that God wants us to live. And they just see we're all normal people, and they get in, and it changes their life too. And we're able to connect them back to the body of Christ through churches and through small groups. And it's just really neat to see the kind of full circle that it comes with our staff. And we have several mentees that are on our staff now, because they came and saw what we were doing, and they said they wanted to be a part of it. And they're like, "But I don't know how to hunt." And I said, "Well, good thing is we can teach you some more."
Well, yeah. And you guys have your meetings, you have experts come in, and so, they're getting like an education. Well, they're getting a camaraderie group first, right? Which is huge, especially in the faith community, to have those, people that can be your backbone when you can't be your own sometimes or whatever, because we're all human. And then on top of that, you mentioned you having experts come in, so they're getting that education. Because I'm like, I know right now, if I wanted to do something like this, like, I could take a guy hunting, but I wouldn't guarantee them success by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'd rather, like, hey, go hunt with Taylor. He knows a lot more about whitetail deer than I do. Like, go make him successful. But they can kind of get that education on the spot too, and then, which is awesome. And then you mentioned, so you pastor these guys. So you have a background in being a pastor, or how did that shape out?
Yep. So I joined the Air Force out of high school, and then was able to commission and get a pilot slot. And in 2016, when I started on flight training, my neck and back injury that I had at the start of my career when I was doing special forces, anytime that I would make a right-hand turn in a jet over a couple of G's, my nerve in my neck would pinch, which is also the same reason I can't pull back a compound bow, because it pinches in that too. So I'm a crossbow king. And but yeah, I medically retired in 2016, and pretty devastated. I went from the Air Force to the pest control world. So I went from the coolest fighter jet job in the world to killing bugs for a living. But I also enrolled in ministry school at the time, and God just really, as I was going through ministry school, opened up my eyes that I get to go into people's houses every day, and they're safe into their safe place. And it's a really cool opportunity to witness to them and pray for them. And the lives that I was able to change through pest control was just really powerful. And I'm just really grateful for that time. I ended up starting my own company and sold it to my business partners last year. But it's just been just really cool to see how God used that time to make an impact in people's lives. And in probably somewhere around 2018, I finished ministry school, and I went to church. I went to work at a church in Virginia, and it was, one of those big mega churches with multiple campuses, and things were wide open, and it was a lot of fun. But we just found ourselves in a place where we really wanted to get back home to Alabama, and we, just really wanted to make an impact in ministry in the workplace, and so through businesses. So had our pest control business. Now we have our children's toy store, and then so it was just kind of a natural fit that I loved hunting, and I had a dream of one day using hunting and ministry and pairing that together to make a difference in people's lives. And didn't really know what that was going to look like. But, each day God gives me more vision for Revive Outdoors. And what we hope is that we fundraise, and, we obviously get our annual budget covered. Plus, some extra for some more growth within our annual budget and our needs. But then also, our goal 3 years from now is that we have our own property. We're hoping to have 100 to 200 acres and just start small with a maybe like an event pavilion type setup that we could even rent out to other people to use, but for some of our workshop and our hosting and events, and maybe let other people come in and have retreats as well. And then hopefully, by year 5, we hope to have some type of actual official enclosed building where people can come and gather, and then have some lodging outside of that where people can come and stay from out of state. If we have a pastor or a business leader or a veteran, somebody who's just really needing some time to heal, that they would be able to come in and just find rest and revive their life through our property. And then our 10-year goal is that we really, my wife and I, we have a passion for mental health, especially Christian-based mental health after our journey through mental health. And we really, what our goal is 10 years from now is to launch Revive Oasis, which is a mental health retreat that people can come into and find healing that way, where we'll have professional certified counselors that walk them through, healing from trauma journey, or healing from abuse, or healing from, PTSD, and just different opportunities to make an impact here in the Southeast in that way. So God continues to give us vision, and we just are always looking for people to come along the journey and partner with us, both in, their efforts volunteering physically, but also financially.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's uh, big vision, and you mentioned, God gives you little bits along the way. And the thing it makes me smile, I guess, when I think about that kind of stuff too. Because if you look back, even like Light the Fire Outdoors, or obviously with Revive Outdoors, like how bad would I have fumbled the ball if he would have told me where, like today, what today looks like, if he would have told me that whenever I started this, or like, is that something you feel, do you ever think about that? Like if you would have known where you're at today, like would it have gone the way it should have gone if you would have known about it like in 2020, like right away, if he's just like, hey, here's the master plan? Or is it better that he gives it to you a little bit at a time?
Yeah, I think it's both. And, I think, you got to have some type of vision for the future. And, I'm constantly praying for clarity and vision, and then also discernment on when to act on that vision. What's the timeline? In the beginning, I mean, I knew that I wanted to do something, and I just kind of started taking people hunting. And then my number two guy, Justin, Grogan is his name, he came in. And he said, "Hey man, I really believe in this vision. I see your heart in this. Let's make it something." And by the next year, we had 15 guys on the team. Now we have, a year later, we had 30 guys on the team. And so it's just amazing to see, like, as those guys, when we had 15 guys on the team, I remember looking at them and I'm like, guys, I need you to pray for me to have clarity of vision and what we need to do with Revive Outdoors. We have this YouTube channel. It's got like 3 or 4 thousand subscribers right now. I don't really know what to do with it, because all these companies don't want me to talk about anything but their stuff, like no competitor stuff. And so,
Yep.
like, you can only make so much content on one set of sticks, or, one hang on stand, or, whatever. And I was like, this just doesn't make sense. It's not something I want to continue to do, but I feel like there's just something there that I need to continue YouTube for, like, an impact in the conservation space, outdoor hunting space. And so got clarity of vision for that really last year. And then the year prior got really good clarity of vision of partnering with the DCNR to host these hunting one-on-one workshops, and then take those people from those workshops onto mentored hunts. And I told the guys in December at our staff retreat, I said, "Hey guys, I don't really have clarity of vision of what I want this to be in the future. Like, God's telling me to just sit still for the moment and listen to him." And I just told him, I said, "We're going to keep doing our workshops and our mentored hunts, and we'll have, some more intermediate and advanced classes and stuff to do fundraisers and stuff along the way. But I don't really know where we're headed with this, but just trust that I'm praying, and I need you to pray for me. And I need clarity of vision." And it wasn't, a week or two later that God gave me the 3, 5, 10-year plan. And the 10-year plan, the Revive Oasis, is something that my wife and I have had on our hearts for, a couple of years now, but didn't really know how we would get there. And clarity of vision also comes with you have to have clarity of vision to go out and find partners to fundraise, and for people to know how they fit into the vision. And so it's financial donations, it's land donations, it's equipment donations, it's all kinds of things. But if there's not vision for them either, they don't really know how they can play a part. And so I'm just grateful here, as of the last couple of weeks, God's given me some really strong, like, clear vision. But yeah, I think if he would have given it to me early on, I think I would have wanted to skip some really necessary seasons
Hmm.
that made me who I am as a hunter. I was a decent hunter before, but now brand new hunters' success is dependent upon my ability to put them in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And, we don't promise that they're going to get a deer, but we want them to. We really, really want them to. And so we run like 40 cell cameras across multiple properties. I mean, we're just constantly just paying attention to, day in and day out, I'm monitoring deer because we might not have a hunt today, but we may have similar conditions in a week from now. And I've got to get somebody out there in the woods on that day and hope they have success. And I can go back and I can look and say, hey, well, on this day with this wind, with this, all these things playing a part, this is where deer showed up. So y'all go out there and hopefully have some luck. And so success rates have been decently high. But we don't ever say what they are, and we don't ever promise anything, because, it's wild animals that we're dealing with. Your dog's pretty predictable, your pet dog, but sometimes he wants to run out and chase a car out of nowhere and not listen to you, or go after another dog he sees walking down the sidewalk. And, deer are extremely, just, can be very random, compared to even your dog. So, wild animals are wild animals, and that's what makes them fun to chase. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. And we're just grateful for clarity of vision, and we're grateful for what God has done along the way to get us to where we're at. But I think there's instrumental ingredients that you can't leave out, and you can only get those through just experiencing them. And so I think if I would have been handed, like there was at one point in time, some very wealthy people saying, hey, go find something that's $2 to $4 million. We want to invest in it. We want to do this. We want to do that. And I just went back to him. I told him I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't in a healthy enough mental place yet from the grief journey. I wasn't in a healthy enough spiritual place from just, everything that happened with the grief and with other things. And so I just told him I wanted to put it on pause and just really mature and get back healthy as an individual first. And this journey of Revive Outdoors growth has enabled me to do that. And I'm really grateful for it. But I think a lot of times we want to be 10 years from now, and we miss a lot of the right now moments. Like I'm a big, be where your feet are kind of person. Don't miss the moment. And, while we're sitting in that hunting blind with somebody waiting for 10 minutes or 10 hours on a deer to come out, get to know them, talk to them, and enjoy that time, because that might be what God really has you there for anyways. The deer is just a bonus. But yeah, that's what I would say is, would I have loved to have been there? Could I have probably made it work? Yeah. Would it have been as healthy as it needed to be? Probably not.
Yes, this is Aaron, and I want to take a quick break from the podcast to talk to you about our first ever partner of the Prayin and Slayin Podcast, and official partner of Like the Fire Outdoors, Dead Nuts Outdoors. These guys allow you to take your range and practice experience to the next level with their ultra high definition, life-size 2D targets. That's right, I said 2D. This technology is super cool because you no longer have to worry about bulky, weather-beaten, 3D super heavy targets for your backyard. And for me personally, being a military family, this is super important. We're actually just gearing up to move to our next duty station here, and I get to fold my entire backyard range, which is a bighorn sheep, full-size grizzly bear, full-size elk, mule deer, pronghorn, and whitetail. All of these targets will fold up into just a few inches of space and weigh like just a couple pounds altogether. That's super cool. And they also just introduced their Vital X technology, which actually gives you guys an inside look at the real 3D anatomy of each individual target. Whether you're shooting a black bear versus an elk versus a whitetail, you just simply scan the target. It shows you a 3D real anatomy image of what's going on inside that target, so you can just get educated on why each shot is important and where that arrow or bullet that you hit, what it's actually doing inside as it affects that animal. Guys, if you want to check out more, go to www.deadnutsoutdoors.com. We are so proud to be partnered with these guys and taking their business to the next level. And please check them out again, www.deadnutsoutdoors.com. All right, now let's get back to the episode. Yeah, so that's good stuff. That's exactly what I was going. It's like I feel like you look backwards a lot in a faith journey, and like you smile at places you've been because you realize like all those things while you're going through it. how it sets you up for now. And I love that you brought into that, there was a time when you had to say no and you had the clarity to say no that, because I think with things like that, and I've done that, you say yes to something that you think is the right thing, even though you're maybe not quite ready for it. And you kind of know that in the back of your mind, but it just seems too good to say no to. And then you get so far deep in it, you're like, all it is an extra weight that just sits on your shoulders, and you don't realize it until you let go of it. Finally, whether it be good, bad, ugly, however that happens, if it's not meant to be there right now, it's going to be weighing you down along the way until God finally beats you in the head with a hammer. It feels like sometimes, and He's like, "Okay, you got it. Okay, good. I see now. You saw what you did there. Let's move on and get a little lighter so you can be a little quicker on your feet." So that's awesome. I love that you included that in there too. One of the questions I guess I had here, I'm a little curious on the Hunter 101 workshop. Was that Revive Outdoors' brainchild? Was that the Alabama DNR, or was it like a combination of both? How did that come together? That's a pretty incredible thing that hunters get to do.
Yep. So there's a national conservation effort called R3. It's an organization that's focused on exactly what we are focused on, which is the reversing the statistic of the decline in hunter participation. And it's focused on, hunting, and then also it's focused on shooting sports as well. And then I want to say it's also maybe focused on fishing too. But R3, the R3 coordinator for the state of Alabama, or maybe the Southeast, I'm not really sure what his level of leadership is, but he is also oversees all of like the Hunting 101 workshop type content that the state of Alabama does. And so I had clarity of vision, and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to have a prerequisite for people to go on a hunt with us. And I think that looks like a teaching workshop where we teach them. And their eyes lit up and they said, well, we actually have these Hunting 101 workshops we just started last year. And we need more people to come to them, one, but we also would love for you to help us. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it. And so it's really cool. First one we went to, we were clueless at what brand new hunters needed. We're talking some, advanced stuff, and they're like, eyes are glazing over. And I'm like, okay, we gotta tone this down a little bit. I didn't realize how green these people would be, like never shot guns mostly, and never, been, further than, maybe a hiking trail, like off the beaten path, and so, our relationship with the DCNR has been very, very good, and we're very grateful for that partnership. And so they provide majority, I would say, of the content kind of set up for the Hunting 101 workshop. We let them kind of lead and do that. And then where we see gaps that need to be filled, that's where we fill those. So our portion of it, they'll talk a lot about the maps. They'll do the firearm safety just for liability purposes. They'll talk about where do you shoot a deer, or if we're doing the turkey workshop, where to shoot a turkey. And then we'll cover the hunting aspect, because most of them are biologists and they're game wardens, and they know all this stuff, but they know that we live it day in and day out. Like we are actual the ones hunting, and so we'll work with them and teach, the biology side of it, how to find sign in the woods. How do you take a block of woods and boil it down to where you think the deer are going to be? How to deer bed when the wind is coming out of a certain direction. We start just kind of breaking down to give them, the basic tips and understanding of how deer live their lives, or how turkeys live their lives. And it's on a very elementary level. And we have found, even through us teaching this, it's made us better hunters, because really, the more simple that you make hunting, the more success that you're going to have. When you overcomplicate it, it tends to be a lot more harm than it is good in your hunting success. If you just let the deer do what they're naturally going to do, and you just ease in on the edges and kind of catch them doing what they're doing, it's a lot more successful than getting in there. And not that you can't find big deer, walking 35 miles back into the wilderness, as everybody wants to do this day and age. But I'll gladly hunt them off the parking lot if it's legal, and
Heck yeah.
so yeah, it's just really an elementary level of teaching in a very healthy, safe environment where they can ask any question that they want to. And it's all the questions that all the experienced hunters want to ask that they just don't have a place to ask it without getting, destroyed by some guy that thinks he knows everything. you know?
That's the Facebook places. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's awesome. And then I know from you and I working together, do you guys incorporate the partners you have into those workshops as well? Or, hunting 101, there's one side, obviously, how game animals operate on a day-to-day basis throughout the year to get someone kind of, okay, I know how to be a safe hunter. Now I know kind of where to start my journey of finding the animal, but then there's the stuff we've already kind of talked about, the whole gear aspect. Like, do you guys cover anything like that, like the basics of what you need, don't need, and are your partners included in that as well?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, great question. Yeah, so we do. We have a kind of like a tree stand, tree climbing, safety aspect of it, and so what we realized in the beginning is that most of them just wanted to ground hunt, and it was just because of fear and a lack of knowledge on how to climb a tree safely. They just looked at it as being extremely dangerous, and they didn't want to risk that danger, especially when they're learning something brand new, anyways. And so what we've done with our partners, whether it be trail cameras or mock scrape products, or it be tick repellents, or it be saddles, sticks, platforms, hang on stands. I mean, all of our partners, what we do is we have all of their stuff set up for everybody to try while they're at that workshop, and we give them instruction and answer questions and let them really get that experience that gives them the confidence to look into it a little bit more. And so we'll teach them, every partner that we work with, we'll teach them about their products and how to use them. And then also what's really cool is these partners have exclusive discounts for these brand new hunters. And so if you attend the workshop, you get an exclusive discount for any of their products that you wanted to purchase, as just a way for that company saying like, hey, keep up the good work. Here's some encouragement. We know it can be pricey getting into this. Any new hobby can be pricey, but this definitely can be. So here's a little bit of extra help um, initially to help you get started. So it's really cool that they do that for us.
Super cool. Absolutely. And then is that I guess another question I had there is the for the hunting 101, obviously you guys do it. Are your hunting 101 separate from like another random one that the state of Alabama may have, or are they all combined now at this point?
Yep, they're all combined right now at this point.
Okay.
And we don't foresee changing that in any time soon. It's a really good partnership and relationship, and we have it. It's all at there's usually 3 or 4 workshops prior to deer season, and then there's one prior to turkey. And those workshops, they are held at usually like a headquarters location of one of the WMAs on the public land. So for those mentees that come through that workshop that they want to hunt public land, they can go ahead and get some experience there. After the workshop's over, they have an opportunity to go on a small game hunt. So whether that be squirrel, doves, coyotes, bobcats, there's a variety of things that are in season typically, and they can go and take what they've learned and apply it to a different species. And we always encourage multi-species hunting. It's kind of like, we live in a day and age where everybody kind of focuses on one sport, as kids, like they're just baseball players. And what I've learned in hunting is, I thought initially, coming from that age where we played all sports growing up, but then later in life, it's like, oh no, you need to focus on this one sport. And so I kind of took that mentality into deer hunting, where I'm just going to solely focus on whitetail hunting. And then I started getting into turkeys, and then I started getting into coyotes. Then it was like squirrels, and then it was just a bunch of other things that I started trapping. And I've realized that I am as successful as I am because I understand the behaviors and the way that all of these species work. And it makes me better at all the other ones as well. So we encourage that from our mentees as well. We may be teaching them about deer or turkey, but you can go and apply these concepts to anything and learn, and it's only going to make you better at hunting, the species that you ultimately want to be successful at.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. And that's I kind of learned that lesson out of frustration of getting frustrated with deer hunting out here on Maryland public land. But as fun as that is, it's like come home empty-handed, eat a tag sandwich this year on the deer, but it's like, oh, what the hell? Let's try some squirrels. Let's try trapping for the first time. Let's try these little things. But
Yep.
exactly like you said, it's opened my brain to be like, there's no reason I can't be out in the woods almost 365 days a year. And while you're out there, that's when I feel like because that pressure's off of the deer concept, it's like, oh, I'll notice this channel or oh, it makes total sense why the deer were doing that this year while I'm in there squirrel hunting or doing something else. Because this other thing that I noticed that I never would have paid attention to if I wouldn't have been doing this other activity, just being out there, open mind. Yeah, I think there's a lot of value to that. And I just did it to kind of decompress from a really frustrating deer season. But I love that you guys do that with the new hunters too, because I think that'll open a lot of value there. And then really, I guess the way God designed everything, anyways, everything works together. So for
Yep.
every little piece you learn is just another piece of that puzzle in the big picture.
That's right. And, it's really an overall conversation on woodsmanship. And, in historically, there was more hunters and they were doing that, it was just their way of life. I mean, there was no PlayStations and Xboxes and, very rare, some TVs here and there. And so as those things have come into our lives, we've stopped doing, what was fun to us before, going out in the woods. And, I have a lot of older guys that I work with and I learn from, and it was nothing for them to get off the bus as a kid and their uncle or their dad or grandfather say, hey, get in the truck, we're going squirrel hunting today, or hey, we're going coon hunting tonight, or hey, we're doing this or we're doing that. And there was no question about it, they loved it. But they were in the woods learning all those different things. And that's why that generation that's older than us has so much more woodsmanship than we do, is because it's most people you talk to now, deer hunting's the probably the number one sport, and then turkey's probably the number two. But usually when deer season goes out, they don't do anything again until, maybe a little bit before, maybe a work day here or there at a hunting club or something, but really they're not in the woods. And I learn and I encourage our team and our mentees to learn, year round. Anytime you can just go out in the woods, you're going to learn something and see something that you haven't before. It's going to help you be successful.
Absolutely, man. That's huge. Yeah, and there was another, I was going to ask you too on, you mentioned the decline again of hunters, and obviously it's a declining thing since our dads and grandpas and stuff. But I think that's what got me into hunting, honestly, when I was a kid, because my dad off and on, like he'd go with his uncles here and there, but he wasn't definitely not a hunter. He got more into it when I started, just to go out with me, basically. But hearing my grandpa talk about exactly what you just said, they would K through 12 and one room schoolhouse and hunt on the way to school, hunt on their way home, bring their 22s with them, ride the horse, whatever, like all the stuff that he'd talk about. It's just like that sense of adventure is what got me into it. And but on the decline thing, do you think it's a technology thing, or you think it's like an intimidation factor? Because, there's definitely more distractions we have today to take away from, and not as much need, I guess, right? To you can get everything you need in the grocery store, all that extra stuff for the need of hunting. Um, but I guess what are your thoughts on that 87% statistic you threw out there? Is there, is there a reason? Is it distraction, or is it more of just the lack of necessity, or what?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a multifaceted equation for sure that's causing the decline. What I tell people is we can sit and talk about the decline all day, or we can get out and do something about it. And I
Hmm.
think that everybody would rather, as we were just talking about, does technology play a part into it? Everybody would rather sit on their couch or at work or wherever on Facebook and talk about, why is it decline? Why does it do this? Well, all that time you wasted, just go teach somebody new how to hunt. It's that simple. There is an intimidation level because I didn't have a dad that taught me how to hunt. My uncle took me twice, three times maybe when I was growing up. And I just naturally I had a bunch of deer in my backyard and I got permission to hunt the acreage behind me. And I started bow hunting like a wild man in my 20s. And I'm like, this is awesome. And so it was it was a new level of like kind of competition with me and the deer, and that I enjoyed. But you know, for me, it's there's a lot of people out there like me that they want to learn, and nobody was really there that kind of taught them. Thankfully, I was exposed to it a little bit, but there's people that are not exposed to it at all. And they have a desire. I think we all naturally have a desire, especially as men, to go out and provide and be that hunter. And not that women are not in that conversation as well, but I think there's just something in a man that has so much more desire to go out and kill. First of all, that's kind of a hard thing to do. Kill an animal, process that animal, kind of gross, to some people, and to me, I'm the guy that I really, if I hit those guts, man, I'm gagging. But I yeah, it's like to go and put that from literally the hunt to your table. There's just something really rewarding about that. And the more people that you can get involved in that, give them the confidence that then go do it by themselves. I think that, that's really where we need to focus the conversation, is not on what's caused it, but what are you doing about it? Like, what have you done to make an impact in changing that number? And because really, if one person just taught one person per season, that's my thing with my staff. All you do is teach one person. That's the only thing I'm asking you to do. Come and have fun in our staff meetings, go on cool hunts that we get the opportunity to do, all these unique opportunities, get in free to some cool events that you want to go to. You might not have the money to do, get some free guns, get some free bow releases, like we have a lot of cool opportunities for our staff. But the only thing I'm asking you to do is really take one person hunting per season of the species that you hunt. So if you're just a deer hunter, take one person. And if everybody could just do that one time, and then those people, it's just that exponential, impact that you see is like, man, 1 and 1, and then you got 4 the next year, and then it just keeps on multiplying. And so that's really where I would encourage people to just stop worrying about the why and think about the what can I do?
I love that, man. No, that's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, like, again, going back to that the Malmstrom Air Force Base example, I showed one guy, and next thing you know, I think there was 5 or 6 that he took out on his own, and I didn't touch. Again, it was just him doing it, but that's a compounding factor. That's awesome. As far as your staffers go, so we know what they do. They're asked to take one person hunting. How do they find you? Do you guys recruit them? Do they have a place they can reach out to you if it's something, someone that's listening to this wants to get involved? Like, how do you go about finding, or they find you to sign up to be a mentor?
Yep, absolutely. So most of our team is surrounding, around the surrounding Birmingham, Alabama area, but we have a guy in Georgia and a guy in Tennessee. We had a new guy reach out to us from Indiana, New York, Pennsylvania. And so we're starting to really find vision and a model for those people who want to be involved out of state. And it's been really neat to see. Now, obviously, like, we have hunting one-on-one workshops, and then that qualifies them for the mentored hunt. It may look a little different. We're willing to help those that are out of state that want to connect with mentees, and how to find those people, and even maybe work with your DCNR, DNR, whatever it's called in your state. They may have an R3 initiative where they're doing something similar to that you can go jump on board, and we can help coach you along that as a part of Revive Outdoors. But if you're wanting to get involved, you go to our website, reviveoutdoors.org, and you just hit the serve button, and it has a form that you fill out with all of your information, and then we reach out and have a conversation with you and see where you're at, where you're located. Hey, our next meeting is, we always have our meetings on the first Tuesday of every month in the evening time, 7:30 to 9:30. So most people can help their wives get the kids to bed and then come on over, or at least start getting the kids to bed, And so,
The process.
but yeah, and we have guys of all ages, all backgrounds, all experience levels, all different spiritual levels as well. But if you're just wanting a good, positive environment to get around other like-minded hunters, like, we'd love to have you be a part of that. And, for the women that maybe listen to this, Right now, we just have it as men. And the reason being is when we have our ministry time, it just allows men to open up otherwise where they wouldn't in front of a woman and talk about things that they might not talk about in front of the opposite sex. And so there might be an opportunity for women down the road, especially as my wife, hopefully the toy store grows and she can be there less time and she can be a part of Revive, starting Revive Oasis down the road. But right now it's a men's Christian ministry, and we really believe, there's a lot of statistics on, this being the highest fatherless generation in history, and so we're really about equipping men and getting them strong. And then there's a lot of statistics as well of the impact, the positive impact that has on a marriage and as a family.
That's good. So reviveoutdoors.org, and then there's a serve button. That's where people can find out to get involved with that. Awesome. Very cool. And then there's a monthly meeting that's involved with it. And then once a year, get someone out and take them hunting or get them outdoors and whatever that person's already passionate about anyway.
Yep.
Pretty easy. Awesome, man. And then rumor has it, as far as fundraising goes, obviously you guys have your partners that work with you on content. You do that. You're through the one-on-one workshops and things like that. How can whether it be a company, how can they find you if it's someone that says, "Hey, I'd like to get involved with this somehow, get my products involved with it." How do they find you?
Yep. So they can reach out through our website. You can always email me at info@reviveoutdoors.org. But we now have a portion on our website that you can go to. And if you're wanting to have a more in-depth conversation, you can fill out that contact form. If you're wanting to just donate financially, we have both our Venmo and our PayPal link there, or you can just do it through our website. Venmo and PayPal, as long as you don't hit that goods and services, it won't take out a fee. And so we love Venmo and PayPal as long as you don't hit that goods and services. But if you do it through our website, it'll take out a fee in the background through our processing software. But then we also have it to where you can fill out that contact form. If you're somebody who maybe has a bulldozer, an excavator, or a skid steer, a mulcher, a tractor, a four-wheeler, side by side. If you're wanting to donate something like that to us, we have that contact form you can fill out as well. And then if you have land, same thing. Just fill out that contact form, and we'll be in contact with you, and I'd be happy to have that conversation.
And so you mentioned land there at the end. Is that something you guys do? You guys hunt on your own property? You do public, private? Is all donated? Like, how does that work?
Yep. So right now it's 100% private land, and it's 100% privately owned by individuals that we just work with to let us use their land for our ministry or for our mission. And so what that does is it gives us an opportunity not to impact those public land guys that are already complaining about people stealing their spots. But it also it creates a little bit easier an environment to have success in. But we have had guys that immediately go out and they harvest deer the same season on public land or the next season on public land after they've completed our mentorship program. So it's really neat. But it's 100% private, and it's all owned by that individual right now. We don't do any leases, so we don't pay any money for land, and we hope to keep it that way. To keep partnering with landowners. We always leave it better than we found it. We pick up trash, we clear the roads, we do a lot of work. But the downside to that is we can't do too much work on the property because we have had situations where we've significantly increased the value of the property, and then they turn around and they decide to sell it out from under us because it's now a turnkey hunting property and they can, double or triple their investment. And so we're really hoping to get our own land and be able to do our own, habitat management, wildlife management on those properties, work with the state, work with private organizations to, hopefully increase those areas and, teach people, about, all of the habitat side and, prescribe burns and, thinning of timber and the benefits of this or that, and host workshops around that. But right now, we really hope just to get our own land that we own outright, and so we can really focus on that.
Yeah, and get your mentees and stuff probably involved even on like the land upgrades and the land projects too. Like that's something else that, you know, whether you don't get a chance to really get involved a whole lot with it on private or excuse me, on public ground. You know, you kind of just go out there and what's available to you is what's available to you. But yeah, you get involved, whether it be leases or anything. That's just a whole other component of hunting is the land management aspect that it gets overlooked a lot just because a lot of times if you're a brand new hunter, you're hunting on someone's property that's already been done for you. You're just kind of, you know, walking in, walking out and hoping you get something along the way or, you know, whatever. But, you know, it's also a good way to get access to, I guess, too, is offering to do a little bit of work here and there if you notice something that can be helped out. But maybe there's a lesson in not doing a little too much work if it gives you work your way out of
Yeah.
a property too, I guess.
Yeah.
No, that's
And,
awesome.
yeah, what we learned from that specific experience is we just have that conversation with landowners is, hey, we're more than willing and happy to help you with this. You can either compensate our time and our efforts and make a donation, or in lieu of that, you can, you know, will us the property, or there can be some type of plan worked out to where you donate this property by, you know, a certain date. And so we have one property in particular that we had that conversation with the landowner, just 70 acres. It's what we call our ministry property, even though we have a lot of ministry property. This was where we'll host like our master class in February, which I know we haven't talked about yet, but we'll host that and other workshops throughout the year to raise money and to also, you know, teach people past that initial phase, you know, get a more intermediate and advanced level of teaching going. And so that lady that owns that property, she has already said that she would commit that property to us when she passes away. She was initially going to donate it to a forestry type nonprofit that would have just sold it because it's such a small piece to them.
Hmm.
They're mostly in the large parcel, and we would have missed out on that opportunity. And so we put a lot of energy and efforts into that property, and we're currently working through grants through the ag organization. I can't think of the federal ag the Department of Agricultural, I guess is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're currently working through them to get grants to be able to do thinning on the property and to be able to do prescribed burns and really increase the habitat for wildlife overall as a tree farm.
Well, very cool. Awesome. No, so you mentioned it, the master class in February. I've heard about this, and I'm a little bummed I'm not closer to Birmingham, but tell us about that because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, so February 22nd, we're going to have an in-person master class. And this class is going to be for those that are extremely experienced hunters and those who are just getting into it. It's just a safe place to come and learn from people who spend a lot of time chasing whitetails. So it's a whitetail master class. And it's going to be myself hosting it as well as a gentleman named Zachary New. He owns Native Sense, which is a authentic, real deer urine. So he captures urine from both bucks and does in rut and outer rut. So he has etrus and then regular urine that he captures. And because of the nature of his work, he knows a lot about deer biology. And so he'll come in and he'll tell us about the seven scent glands of a deer, and we'll talk through how deer use that to navigate the world around them on a day in and day out basis. And then we will also talk about mock scrapes and why they're so important in your success as a hunter and how you can use those for both inventory and for setting up like the perfect location to kill hopefully a big buck. And then we'll have that initial just conversation talking about things. We'll teach people how to make a mock scrape, and then we'll teach people how to read topography, understand wind and thermals, and then they'll have the opportunity to actually scout with us and say, hey, this is why I would hunt here on this day with this wind, and this is why. And then they'll have an opportunity to then do a hands-on. We'll assign them a portion of the property and say, hey, we want you to go scout this portion of the property in small groups and say why you would hunt here. So why you would, where you would choose to hunt and why you would choose to hunt it. And then we'll go through and we'll talk about it as a giant, as a full group and say, hey, I think this is a great stand location, but one thing you didn't factor in is this. One thing you didn't consider is this. and if you're going to hunt this in the morning, the thermals will be rising in some way. But if the wind's, at this miles per hour, this is what will take place. And so it's just a really cool way and a safe environment for people to come in and learn about whitetails. And not saying that I know everything, but I have spent a lot of hours and a lot of time, especially the last 4 or 5 years, to understand where these deer are going and what they're doing and why they're doing it at different times of the year. And we had several people that attended the master class last year that immediately went and harvested their biggest buck and their first trophy bucks, a lot of good testimonials from last year. And they're coming back this year because they're like, man, it was just so much great information. I know I didn't retain it all. So I'm going to come back again and try to get some more. And so we're really excited about it. I'm big on saying I'm not the smartest person in the room by any means, but I'm more than willing to share everything that I know to help you have success. And that kind of segues into something that I like to say is, naturally we are selfish by nature. And so I always tell our mentors, hey, naturally you're gonna want to hunt on it's gonna be the perfect day. It never fails on your mentored hunt day. It's gonna be the perfect day to be in the woods, and that big buck's, might show up, and that mentee may kill him. In that case, always have a backup spot. But I always tell people is like naturally, like we want to be selfish. We want to keep our spots to ourselves. We don't want to show anybody this, or we don't want to show anybody that. And naturally, like we want to go and hunt and kill a bunch of big deer. But at the end of your life, when you're on your deathbed, or once you're gone and hopefully in heaven, you're going to be very, very fortunate if the deer that are on your wall make it to your kid's wall. And it would just be an absolute miracle if that deer made it to your great or your grandkids' walls, or your great grandkids. Like chances are when you die, you're going to be all your shoulder mounts are going to be in a dumpster somewhere. Your skull mounts are going to be in a dumpster. They're going to be in a yard sale, or some lady's going to be trying to donate them to Revive Outdoors for our booth setup. And I'm like, we got enough deer. We don't need any more. If I brought another deer home to hang on the wall, my wife would kill me. But I say all that to say is I think it's awesome that you have goals if you want to kill some trophy deer. And I hope that you achieve those goals. But the most important thing is your relationship with the Lord. The second most important thing is your relationship with your wife if you're married. And then the third is your relationship with the kids. And everything else is just after that. And so that order is it's biblical for one, but it's really where I have found just the most reward in my life, and the most blessings and the most peace. And when I'm trying to get the things out of order, I'm trying to put deer hunting first, or I'm trying to put other things first. It just never works out to where I have just that natural peace in my life. And last year, I just felt like I really got that order right for the first time. And I think I hunted for myself less than 10 times, and I killed 5 bucks in 5 states. It was just one of those seasons where, God's hand was in it, and it was amazing. This year, I've killed 3 bucks in 3 states, and I'm extremely grateful for that. But when you put that order in place and you get your heart right, I would just say like it's so impactful in your own life, and it makes your life so much more meaningful. And we always wonder and question like, what's my purpose in life? Well, your purpose in life is to make a difference in the lives of others, and through discipleship. And so go out and put your selfish desires and your goals to the side. Focus on your relationship with the Lord, your marriage, your kids, and then when it comes to hunting, take just one person out. One day, even if it burns your best spot, if you're a public land hunter and you take somebody out, if it burns your best spot, oh well. At the end of the day, is it really that important? And really, is that person even going to have success in that spot as a new beginner? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, who really cares? Because when you die, again, you're lucky if those deer make it past your wall. So yeah, that's just kind of what I would say in closing of that conversation is we naturally want to be selfish, and when you catch yourself being that way, just let it go.
Pretty incredible. And there's I love that too, because I think one of the things, and maybe you'll say the same thing. I You get your first couple deer, I'd say, or your first anything, and there's like this like heart well up moment. You're like, oh man, I did it, I got it, whatever, right? And you check that box. But then everyone after that, it's usually just as exciting in the moment or whatever. But I find that like the residual hangout of it is just not there, if that makes sense. But the things I obsess about the most now from hunting was actually when my wife got her first, she's gotten a few animals now. And those are the memories that I sit around and replay in my head over and over and over. And I don't know what the magic is in that exactly, but there's something about helping somebody else get it that it's just more powerful. And until you see it and experience it, you just don't know that it's there. Um, and my 3-year-old, he goes with me and he's seen me kill squirrels. That's what we've got. And we've trapped a fox together in the backyard, but I haven't got to watch him do it if he's going to get into it yet. But I'm more excited for that day, I think, than anything else I could get. But I guess what would you say your favorite piece about you guys are giving people the joy of hunting? Like, what's your favorite piece about this ministry you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think my favorite is really pastoring our staff. But my second favorite is like when you take people out and you get to see them experience it as an adult. You see that childlike innocence come out of them and a joy that we typically don't see expressed as fellow adults. You see kids laugh and get excited or cry. It's you rarely see that with adults, and so it's just a really cool place to be when
Yeah,
someone experiences that first harvest.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, could you imagine if the stuff your 3-year-old, I keep referencing my 3-year-old, he's the only one we got right now, but he's the stuff he'll scream out the top of his lungs at a grocery store that he's pumped about. It's just like, can you imagine if every adult in here was doing the same thing?
Yep,
It'd be an awesome world to live in, I can tell you that.
that's right. It'd be fun.
Heck yeah, man. That's so cool. Well, I think we've got time. If you've got a story, I'd love to hear just a, I don't know, your favorite hunt you've been on doing this or your favorite story to tell about, a menteed hunt on Revive Outdoors or whatever, man. But whatever you got, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we can definitely close with that. That would be great. I would say my favorite mentored hunt came this year, and so we had a guy that's on our team that he's never killed a deer, and he decided, hey, I want to volunteer with you guys. He met us at a Birmingham Deer Expo. He said, I love what you are doing. I want to learn from you guys, but I want to help too. Like I love the ministry aspect of this and being involved in hunting. So he lives in Georgia.
And he's
He
never killed a deer.
never killed a deer. Nope.
He's
And
signing up to mentee a hunter and he's never killed one. But
that's,
I mean, that's cool.
yep. And that's what we told him. He said, well, I was like, well, we're not going to throw you to the wolves and let you go out by yourself. I said, just work with your mentee, figure
Yeah.
out a date. And so he started coming and, attending our staff meetings once a month virtually since he's, 2.5, 3 hours away. And so he was attending and we assigned him a mentor or a mentee. And he's like, do I call him? I'm like, yeah, you call him. Just set up a day and time. And I said, we'll find a property to take him on, wherever the deer are showing up. And so he arranges it and the date comes and we got to the property. He had to leave his house at like 2 in the morning to get there by the time that we were going out to hunt at like, 4:30, 5 a.m. And so he comes all the way in there and he's hunting with the guy that's also never killed a deer. And that guy in this spot, he shoots a deer like 30 minutes after daylight, a little 3 point, and I was pumped. He is actually like rack wise small, but body wise big. And so I'm like, man, that's gonna be a lot of meat. That's gonna be exciting. And so I said, let's do this since it's so early. I've been having a lot of like deer come through here. I didn't tell them bucks because people get a little too excited. And but it wasn't 2 hours later. We're sitting in that same spot, and 4 or 5 bucks come rolling out as a bachelor group onto this power line spot. And, he's like, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a little 4 point. He looks to be about the biggest. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, there's an 8 point. We have this whole hunt on our YouTube channel. It was really cool. But he shoots the 8 point. It's his first deer, ever. And it's a one he's going to shoulder mount, it's really cool. But I think it was just the reason that's my favorite is because someone completely from a place of humility said, hey, I'm willing to help someone else do something that I haven't even done yet. And then God turned around and immediately rewarded him. I mean, we literally just moved spots in the blind and he got in front of the gun and God immediately rewarded him. So that's probably my favorite memory. I have another turkey one on the turkey side where we were calling a turkey, and he gobbled from like 3 ridges over. Like I could barely hear him gobble. And a coyote, when he was almost to us, a coyote comes running up. I'm like, well, he's not going to come in if the coyote's there. And the coyote's kind of checking out our decoys. I'm like, hey, let me have the shotgun. So I reach out, I shoot the coyote dead. And then probably 5-6 minutes later, the gobbler comes up and the mentee shoots him. And I was like, that was awesome. He's like, is that normal? I was like, most people wouldn't shoot the coyote, but the coyote's going to mess up the turkey hunt anyway. So
yeah,
must as well get something out of it. And it just worked in our favor where the Tom actually gobbled at the shotgun when we shot it.
No kidding.
This is going to be a good day. So that's probably, my 2 favorite hunts, deer and turkey.
You can't script it either. I mean, that's got to work.
Right.
That's pretty incredible that a guy came up, just heard what you guys were doing, and it's like, dude, I've never killed a deer, but I want to be involved. Like, and I want to be involved in helping somebody get a deer, which is just, that's crazy, man. That's I guess that's the power of the testimony in it, right? Like that's pretty darn incredible. I had a similar coyote hunt one time. The same thing. I got to watch a coyote sneak in on my decoys, and he came through the fence. I wasn't gonna shoot him, but I kind of had to when he got like 5 yards away because he started coming to the call, and once he realized the decoys are fake. But that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's exciting.
Yep, that's right.
That's super cool, man. Was there anything I'm going to dig up the link to the video of that 8-point hunt because I want people to check that out, so that'll be in the show notes. Obviously we'll link to your guys' website. Is there anything else you want to leave anybody with before we call it?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot. I am grateful for everybody listening to this. If you made it this far, you're a trooper. You should probably reach out to us in some way and find a way to make a difference through Revive Outdoors. But we're just grateful for God's hand in this, and we're just taking back every day that God allows us to do what we do to make a difference in people's lives. To do something you love, like really love, and use it for the kingdom is really cool. And it's just a really neat opportunity, and we don't take it for granted.
So, well, everybody, again, reviveoutdoors.org, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, Revive Outdoors. And Taylor, thanks so much, man, for coming on. I really appreciate your time more than you know, and look forward to getting this story out there, man. Hopefully people will start finding you guys through this channel too. Yeah, man, I sure appreciate it. Thanks, Aaron. You bet, man. Have a good one, brother. We'll see you. All right. You too. Bye-bye. Taylor Philpot with Revive Outdoors. You can find them at reviveoutdoors.org or anywhere, social media, YouTube, Facebook, wherever, at Revive Outdoors. Hearing Taylor's story, it brings me back to John 16:20, where it says, I tell you the truth, you will weep and mourn over what is going to happen to me, in reference to Jesus, but the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will suddenly be turned into wonderful joy. I didn't realize going into this message and talk with Taylor that Revive Outdoors actually started in such a place of grief for him and his family, and an incredible grief there with the loss of a child. But God always has a way to turn something like that and turn those grief and those moments into something way bigger than what you could ever imagine. And for Taylor and his wife to take that opportunity and find God and say, hey, how can we give back and how can we make a difference in light of this and in an awesome memory of that, of their daughter. So what a great opportunity, man. And we're so thankful for Taylor to come on and be the first launch into our conservation series and tell us all about Revive Outdoors. Couldn't think of a better organization to fit this, the bill to kick this thing off. So with that, guys, again, I'm going to link down to the show notes a bunch of different links, reviveoutdoors.org. Go check those guys out. Feel free to support them however you feel called. And also, we're going to be linking to some of those cool videos that Taylor mentioned. They have a lot of cool things. Check them out on YouTube. I love watching their videos. If you're into outdoor products, they have all kinds of cool things that are going to save you guys money, give back to their organization through the process, and for all you gear junkies, he's a great resource to help you navigate the wild world of outdoor gear. With that, guys, thank you so much again for tuning in to another episode of the Prayin and Slayin Podcast, and we can't wait to bring you the next episode here shortly, so stay tuned. And with that, guys, everybody keep praying and slaying.